Welcome everyone to this video where we are gonna learn all about FVM, which is a version management tool for Flutter, which allows us to easily switch between different Flutter versions and also gives the ability to have multiple Flutter versions at a time. In this video, we are gonna learn how to switch Flutter versions without a version manager. Then we'll see how the switching can be made easier by using FVM. So without further ado, let's get started. A version manager, which allows us to switch Flutter versions. Why should we use it? Let's consider the following scenario. We have a project where we are using Flutter version 2.5.1. Now let's consider we want to upgrade to version 2.8.1, but still not sure because that version may not be compatible with the project. So we may need some time to test that version, which will require some time. Also, we might need to make some changes to the code to support the new version. Hence, this migration may take quite a lot of time, and during this time, we might have to work on different features. For these new features, we must use the older version since the migration is not yet completed. Create two branches. Branch new feature where we'll work on a new feature and we'll need version 2.5.1 for this. Another branch is version upgrade where we'll work migrating the code, which will be needing version 2.8.1. And working between these branches will require us to switch between these two Flutter versions. But switching to a specific version is quite tricky in Flutter. It just has two commands, Flutter upgrade and Flutter downgrade, to switch to the latest version and downgrade to the previously used version, respectively. We have version 2.5.1, which is our current Flutter version. We will be also needing version 2.8.1. Let's run a Flutter upgrade and check if we can get that version. We now have this version, which we do not need. So let's revert it by running Flutter downgrade. Without a version manager, if the version is not the currently used version and also not in any channels, then we have to do some extra work. Also, let's check these channels for the Flutter version that we need. The stable channel has 2.5.1. We don't have our required version 2.8.1 in any of these channels. So we have to manually go to the Flutter directory, switch to the specific version branches and run the command flutter doctor. We can get the location of Flutter SDK by running the command where flutter. Change the current directory to this location by using the command cd. For the specific version of Flutter, we can check the Flutter repository. It has a branch section and tags section. Let's check the tags section. There we have our required version. Now we can switch to this tag in our Flutter SDK repository by running the git command git checkout followed by this tag number and then executing the command flutter doctor to make sure everything is all right. After all these hassles, we finally switched to version 2.8.1. We have to repeat all these steps again if we were to switch to other specific Flutter versions. This works great, but when we switch back to any other versions, it re-downloads the SDK. This is a lot of work and time consuming. Now using FVM, this switching can be made very simple. We would just use the command FVM use and the version number to switch to that version. Also, it stores all the Flutter versions in the local system cache, meaning the versions won't be re-downloaded but will be loaded from the cache when we switch back to it. So switching becomes very easy and quick. Consider a second scenario where we are working on multiple projects and each project is using different versions. Without our version manager, we have to go through the hassles as before to switch between versions. But with FVM, we can have separate versions of Flutter project-wise. We just have to set the version once and that's it. We don't have to go through all those hassles of switching the versions. With FVM, we can have a global Flutter version that we can switch easily. Now in every project, this version will be used. Also, we can set separate versions project-wise. If no local version is specified, then the global version will be used. Each version will be stored in the system's local cache, whose storage location can be configured as well. With this why use FVM part aside, let's move ahead and explore how we can install and make use of it in different projects. We can install it in two ways. One is a standalone installation, which is also a recommended way, and another one is the pub package installation using Dart command. We'll install it by using both of these ways for the demonstration purpose, but you should use any one of them as per your preference. Installation in a Unix system like a Mac or Linux is almost similar. For the standalone installation, we'll be needing the Homebrew Package Manager. If you don't have it, just go to its website and run this command in a terminal. Now we have this command brew through which we can install different packages. Installing and removing FVM from Homebrew is very simple. Just run these commands in the terminal and wait for this installation to complete. If you are using an M1 Mac, then you might run into this issue. If you have, then just prefix the command with arc space -x86_64 and then the installation will proceed without that error. With this, the installation is complete and now we can use FVM to manage different Flutter versions. And to remove it, we just have to run the uninstall command. Also, you can OPT for pub package installation. For this, make sure you have Dart installed in your system. We can check if we have Dart installed or not by using the command dart -- version. Check out the link in the description section below to install Dart. Now to install FVM, run the command dart pub global activate FVM. Similarly, we can uninstall FVM by using the command dart pub global deactivate FVM. In a Windows system, we can also install FVM in two different ways, and we can use either one of them but not both as per our preference, or as an option in case one of the installation methods is not working due to some reason. And as we did earlier, we will try both of them for the demonstration purpose. For the standalone installation, we have to have Choco installed in our system, which is one of the free and open source package manager for Windows. Please visit the given link for the installation instructions. We can either use a command shell or PowerShell by opening them as an administrator. Follow the instructions to open them as an administrator. If you are using a command shell, then copy the command for it and paste it into the command shell and hit enter. You can now use Choco to install different packages. Similarly, for PowerShell installation, follow the given instructions. Run get execution policy. If it returns restricted, then run set execution policy all signed or set execution policy bypass dash scope process. Finally, run this command. There are other options available for the installation, and for that, please check out the official website of Choco. Now to install FVM, we have to just run the command choco install FVM, either in a command shell or PowerShell. We now have FVM installed. To remove this, we have to execute choco uninstall FVM. For the pub package installation, we have to make sure that Dart is installed in our system. If not, go to the given link for the installation. Run the command choco install Dart SDK in a PowerShell or a command shell for the installation. And after the installation completes, run the command Dart pub global activate FVM to install FVM. It seems we have to add this value to the environment path variable for the FVM command to work properly in this second approach of pub package installation. To do that, we have to open Start Search, type env, and then choose Edit Environment Variable. Click this Environment Variable button. Here we can add the value to the path in either of these user or system variables. Let's add this to the user variables. Select path and then click Edit. Finally, paste the value that we had copied before and apply the changes. Here the environment variable is set, and the last thing remaining to do is to restart the command shell to address the changes that we just made. Now let's try to use the FVM command, and as expected, it is working properly. We have successfully installed FVM in our system. Next, we'll see how we can configure FVM in Android Studio and Visual Studio Code. We can list different Flutter versions that are available by using the command FVM list. From these versions, we can switch to any version that we need and also download other versions if needed. We can also set the global version by running the command FVM global followed by the version number. Let's set version 2.5.1 as the global version. Here I have this issue because I already have Flutter installed in this location. To fix this, we just have to replace the Flutter path with the one that is instructed by this error. I have this path set inside of the .jet.shrc file, but you might have it in a different file like bashrc, etc. that you had set when installing Flutter. Update the path and save it. We also need the system to know about the changes we just made, which we can do by running the source command. Here we have set the global version successfully. If we set the Flutter version project-wise, it will create a folder .fvm in the root of the project repository. It contains the SDK of the selected Flutter version. But if we inspect this, then the SDK files are not actually there. It's just a relative symbolic link in our project from .fvm/flutter_SDK to the cache of the selected version. Also, let's add this to the git ignore file so that it won't be pushed to the GitHub repository. The location of this cache directory can be changed by setting the FVM home environment variable or using the command fvm config. If nothing is set, then the default path will be used. I am happy with the default settings, but if you want to change the default location, then you can try out these commands. For configuring Android Studio, we have to open Preferences, then go to the Language and Framework tab and select Flutter. Here in the SDK path, select the path to the symbolic link that was created earlier if you are using FVM project-wise. And if you are using global Flutter version, then you have to select the path to the global version. Apply the changes and also restart the Android Studio to make sure everything is working correctly. In VS Code, we can configure FVM in two ways. The first one is the easier and recommended way and works similar to the Android Studio. We just have to point the location of the SDK to the VS Code. We can do that by adding a property in the setting.json file inside the VS Code folder. If you do not have this file, then just create it. With this configuration, VS Code will use the version that is currently selected. The second one is the manual approach, and we have to run the command flutter change SDK in the command palette. But before that, we have to add the property dart.flutter SDK paths to the settings.json file and add the location of the SDK. We can add more than one version here, and when running the command, it will display all the versions to choose from, which is added here. Now we have to just select the version and VS Code will use that particular version. With this configuration aside, let's check out different commands of FVM that we can use to list, install and set Flutter versions to the given project. But before that, take a note of the following. We have a global Flutter version set, which is 2.5.1. This version will be used if no version is set for the project. We have different Flutter commands like Flutter run, Flutter build, etc. And if we want to use the version that is set by FVM, then we have to prefix FVM to all the Flutter commands. For example, the Flutter run command will be FVM Flutter run, Flutter build will be FVM Flutter build, and so on. If we do not prefix the command with FVM, then the global version will be used. We can list different versions installed in our system by using the command FVM list. Now to use the version from the given installed version, we just have to run the command FVM use followed by the version number. We must run this command within a Flutter repo. Let's cd to the FVM test project, which is one of the Flutter projects, and then set Flutter 2.8.0 to this project, which is not yet installed in our system. If this version is not in our system, then it will first download it and set it after the download is completed. We can run FVM releases to check different versions that are available to download and run FVM install version name to install that particular version. We can execute FVM remove followed by the version number to remove that particular version. Please note that this .fvm folder will be present only if we have already set the Flutter version to this project by executing the command FVM use Flutter version. To unset the version, we can just delete this folder, and after that, FVM will use the global Flutter version. Now with this, we can switch Flutter versions for different feature branches easily. Also, we can have different versions of Flutter project-wise. Please do check out the FVM official website for more information on this. You can also check out more features of FVM in their official website, like setting the project flavors. Similarly, we can also use the custom Flutter version, install and use specific revision, and also forcefully use versions from the specific channels. With this, we are at the end of this tutorial. If you liked this video, please leave a thumbs up and do leave a comment if you have any questions or suggestions for the video. Also do subscribe to my channel for more such content. Thank you for watching.